Ever call someone Fey and meant it like a compliment? Dreamy, whimsical, slightly magical? Well, that word you just used, Fey, is older than most kingdoms, and it didn't always mean enchanted. In fact, in its earliest sense, to be Fey was to be under a shadow. Doomed, marked, destined to no longer live. Let's dig in. I'm MT Lynx, indie author and language nerd, and this is Wordbite. Part 1. The Roots in Death. The word Fey goes back to the Old English feige, a word you'd hear whispered around the battlefield. Not magical, not sparkling, it meant fated to no longer live. A man who was Fey was past saving. His doom was sealed, not by wounds or war, but by fate. It was about cowardice or courage. It was metaphysical. If you were Fey, you might laugh in the face of death. Ha 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 ha! There are texts that say a Fey man will go into battle with bright eyes and eerie joy, as though he already walks with ghosts. And it's not just poetic. The Anglo-Saxon chronicles used feige for men who were unnaturally cheerful before death, as though the soul already knows the outcome. So next time you describe someone as Fey because they look like they belong in a cottagecore dream, you might be echoing a word once soaked in fatal prophecy. Sounds more like a curse to me. Part 2. Scottish Seers and the Second Sight. Let's slide north into Scotland this time, where Fey took on a sharper edge. In Highland folklore, Fey people were those who could see death coming. They'd say, he's got the Fey. Not like a cold, but like a sight, an omen. It was the second sight, being able to glimpse tragedy before it struck. You weren't feared because you were weird. You were feared because you were a mirror for death. In some stories, the Fey would scream before death, like the Banshee or Banshee, but in others they were silent, withdrawn, watchers. A child who stopped speaking, a man who wandered the hills with a vacant smile, and in Scottish ballads, Fey is never just strange, it's strange with consequences. Shakespeare and tragic portents. Enter Shakespeare, the linguistic magpie. He uses Fey in Macbeth, just as our doomed king begins to unravel. Macbeth says, I am young, but something Fey. And Lady Macbeth, her sleepwalking, her unravelling, her death, they echo the same undertone. The look of someone whose thread has already been cut. Shakespeare lived at a linguistic crossroads. His audience still understood Fey as fatal, prophetic, and tragic. He used it to describe characters standing at the tipping point between human and archetype, between choice and doom. Enter Cyrilla. Part 5. Strangeness becomes mysticism. But time is a strange editor. By the 17th century, Fey had started to shed its death-scented roots. It became associated with those who didn't quite fit. Eccentrics, poets, recluses, authors. People whose minds lived on the edges of reason. And here's the twist. In many early records, to call a woman Fey meant not fairy, but mad. Women of vision, women who defied norms, women who dreamed too loud. I think all women could stand to dream a little louder and be a little more Fey these days. It's here that Fey starts to blend into something unearthly, a little madness, a little magic. The old danger still lingered, but now it glittered. Language was softening it, even as the folklore still remembers the edge. The Victorians and the fairy turn. Then came the Victorians, lovers of lace, ghosts, and the occult. They rebranded the entire word. They took Fey and gave it wings, literally. Suddenly Fey wasn't fatal, it was fantastical. Enter the Fey. Enter the Fey. Spellings shifted like glamour, from doom to dainty. They didn't discard the danger, they just disguised it a little, glammed it up. The Fey were still capricious, still wild, but now they were marketable, dangerous, but pretty. The same trick we pull in modern storytelling, by the way. Modern myth and literary slippage. Today, Fey, and Fey still exist in a tangled web. Writers choose one to set the tone. Fey is more poetic. Fey leans fantasy. And Fey sounds archaic or high romantic. In D&D and folklore retellings, Feywild became an entire plane of existence where the old strangeness still thrives. The word has fully migrated from battlefield to bookshelf. But the truth? It never lost the edge. Even now, to call a character Fey implies they're not just magical, they're marked. Not fully ours, maybe not even fully real. Maybe they were never meant to last. So, what is Fey really? It's a word with blood on its roots and glitter on its leaves. Once a signal of death, now a shimmer of otherness. And, like the Fey themselves, it never really stays still. Language changes, but it doesn't forget. I'm MT Lynx, indie author, storyteller, and word nerd. If you like this Wordbite, hit like and subscribe, and share it with your favourite fantasy friend. Drop a word in the comments that you want me to unravel next. I'm always looking for more material, and I love to dig into languages. And remember, words aren't just tools, they're artifacts. They're alive, and your language lives, not only in your day-to-day usage, but through you as well. And now you know about the word Fey. You've been bitten by the Wordbite. I'll see you in the next video. This one, right here, go ahead and click it. I'll see you over there.